All of these parts came out of the coaster brake hub of my Sparta Railstar, and it probably had a broken bearing. It sounded very bad. So after cleaning and inspecting, I found out that this bearing cage was the problem. Well, this cage isn't the only problem, although the gaps for the balls are too wide and some of them have fallen out. They are permanently lost, or maybe embedded into my wooden clogs. As you can probably see, this bearing race is also terrible, and some of these ball bearings are really bad. They have lots of damage, and there actually was a lot of metal parts in the grease here. Luckily for me, the cup in the hub shell is still okay. These parts here all came out of a donor bicycle, a 24-inch kids bicycle called a Golden Lion, and that is basically being slaughtered for parts. And this is the same coaster brake mechanism as on my Sparta bicycle. It's a Shimano CB E110. I think I might have dropped this one because it's a bit dirty, but it probably cleans up okay and still be usable. But I am going to clean off all of this black grease, because it will probably be full with metal shavings, because that happens on a coaster brake hub. Although there is not a lot of wear on these brake pads. The brake pads on my Sparta bicycle were actually all still good. The only difference is the length of the axle. This here is the axle from the Sparta bicycle, and it is longer. So all parts will have to be moved to this axle. I'm going to clean this up now, but I'm not going to film all that, because it will be messy, dirty, and take a long time. So I bought some stuff. I got a new chain, a new sprocket, and some grease. Green grease. But according to this Dutch text, this grease should be suitable for high temperature applications. And I don't mind it's green. It's a popular color. It's hip to be green. And this sprocket has 17 teeth. The original one has 16, so the bicycle will be geared a little bit lower. And that's probably a good thing. And here are the coaster brake parts after I cleaned them in some diesel. And I inspected the balls and the cones, or the ball races on the cones, and they still look fine. Certainly a lot better than the original one. This dust cover is a bit rusty, but I don't mind. Other parts of the bicycle are also rusty. They should match. Alright, I think it's time to move this shit show to the workbench and use the vise and reassemble all this. I just noticed that the thread on this axle is not the same on both sides. Not sure if this matters. I don't think so. So I'm just taking a gamble here and start on the short side. I might regret this decision later on. Alright, let's start over now that I have moved to the vise, and this time I'm starting with the brake reaction arm cone, like so, and on top of that cone sits this little dust cover, like so, and then the brake reaction arm. It doesn't fit in all positions. Okay, now on top of that a washer, and then that fat nut that I'm going to use to hold this in the vise. Like so. So now things are going to get greasy, because I do need some lubrication. So I packed this cage with ball bearings with some green grease, and I believe it should go on like this. Some extra grease probably doesn't hurt. On top of this should sit this spring-loaded part, and I'm going to cover this with some grease. It should help with the rust prevention, and that's always a good thing. It should sit like this. Somebody got a motorcycle, noisy bastards. And next, the brake shoes, and I'm going to try and glue these in place with some grease, like so. Oh, wrong side up. Something like this. Hopefully they will stick in place while I get the wheel. So I coated the inside of this hub with some green grease, and now I'm going to try and lower this onto this axle, and hopefully the brake pads will not end up on the floor. I think it needs to move further down. On my second attempt, the wheel sits a lot lower on the axle, a lot better. So now I'm going to install this cage with ball bearings, and after that I need to install the driver. Here's the driver. And it's like this. And over the driver goes this dust cover, like so. And I did coat this with a nice layer of grease. Probably not very smart, but yeah, I got greasy fingers anyway. That stuff really gets everywhere. Next, more grease for the ball bearings in the driver. And now this cage with ball bearings, and next the cone, also with some green grease, and this will probably take forever to spin down. Looks like I need to move the whole hub a little bit up, so the axle will be more in the center. Don't tell anyone, but I just had the whole hub apart again, so I could flip the axle around. It wasn't a big deal, but it was rather greasy. But hey, I'm not a pro. I'm just making this up as I go. Let's spin this thing. I just had to tighten up the nut on the brake reaction arm side, and now I can adjust the cone on the other side. A little bit of sideways play is okay, something like this. And now I need to fix that jam nut. Could use a little bit more play. Maybe I can loosen it up by backing up the cone just a little bit. Backing it off just a bit more. Yeah. Now let's tighten this up without waving my hands in front of the lens. Okay. Alright, that is acceptable. And now it's time for the larger and brand new cork. This one has 17 teeth and the original one had 16. Look at that. The coaster brake works. So now I need to install this C-clip or C-ring or snap ring or whatever ring. It's a bastard, I can tell you that. Wow, very smooth. Maybe I'm getting better. Not sure if you can see this on camera, but there's a little bit of play. But I always say a little bit of play is okay. So now that this coaster brake hub has been reinstalled, it's time to true up the wheel. I bet this is a Van Schothorst rim, because it certainly sounds like a Van Schothorst rim, like it's full with weld spatter. Anyway, in the previous video I already installed a new spoke, but as you can see, this wheel isn't perfect. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I would like to have it just a little bit better. So let's start turning nibbles. Maybe if I spent an hour extra I might be able to get it a little bit better, but I don't really want to. This is good enough for now. Let's move on. Before I can install the rebuilt wheel, I need to remove this old chain. Whoops. We got a little bit of malfunction here, but I did break the chain. And of course it gets stuck. Got it. Alright, this can go into the blue scrap metal container. Looks like I need to do a little bit of cleaning before I can install a new chain. Unfortunately, this chain ring doesn't look very good. Lots of wear. It should be replaced. Unfortunately, that's not in the budget, at least not for this bicycle. So I'm going to gamble and just install a new chain. Hopefully things will work out. Hopefully I can get this new chain through the chain case. Well, that was easy. Let's get the wheel. As you can see, I installed an old HEMA tire. It does have a little bit of dry rot, but at least it's a lot better than the tire that was on here. and it does say no punctures or no puncture, so maybe that's a good omen. I don't know. Here goes nothing. I do not like these anti-rotation washers and this stupid white aluminium frame and these awkward chain tensioners. This is going to be a struggle. As you can see, most of the struggle is over and the wheel is back between the dropouts, or the hub is back between the dropouts, and I even managed to line up these awkward chain tensioners. So the last thing I need to do is install some washers and some axle nuts. This nut is a bit green, and that's because it came from the mostly green Batavus bicycle that I scrapped a while back. The Batavus bicycle actually had the same coaster brake hub as this bicycle, so I could have used that complete wheel, but then I would not have a completely rebuilt wheel. This is probably better. So next I need to shorten the chain a little bit and then reinstall the chain case. I'm going to cut it over here. Let's see how much grief this stupid chain breaker tool is going to give me this time. Got it. Now where's my quick link? And I will definitely have to tension the chain a little bit. Maybe I could, yeah, maybe, well, not sure. Probably I better leave it like this. There's plenty of space to move the wheel a little bit further towards the back. Ah, damn gravity. It's probably a good thing that part of that quick link fell on the floor, because I almost had forgotten to install this this piece of the chain case. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I managed to reinstall this part of the chain case after I found myself a new screw. The original one was badly rusted, but I just found out I made the chain too long. There is not enough space in the dropout, so I will have to shorten the chain just a little bit, because well, I need some room in the dropout for a future chain stretch. So that's what I'm going to do next. So it looks like I need to use my crappy chain breaker tool again. So the chain has been shortened, and it looks like I need to tension the chain just a little bit. It's a bit awkward because the chain case is in the way. Probably good enough. I must say I do like this chain case, because as you can hear, nothing is rubbing, although you can hear that Van Schotthorst rim rattling a bit. Chain's tight enough and the wheel sits nicely in the center of the frame. So let's nip this nut up and I'm pretty much done. A little lubrication for the new chain. That's probably way too much. Definitely way too much. A lot of oil or grease, or I don't know what stuff that was, is sitting at the bottom of the chain case. Well, that's clean enough. Listen, Sounds like the jumbo jets are flying again. How I wish for another lockdown. Close that goddamn Schiphol airport. And now let's listen if anything is rubbing against the chain case. I don't think so. But it does sound a little bit suspicious. Sounds like there's some sand already in the chain. Probably dirt that was still in the chain case. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to squirt in some air and take the bicycle out for a test ride. But I'm not bringing the camera because it is dark. Fuck that again. It was just loose. My mistake. Total amateur. I'm back. That was the shortest test ride ever. Because I forgot that I borrowed the headlight last summer. And now the front mudguard is loose. So get ready for some bonus content. So last summer I borrowed this front headlight for some testing that I did. I actually also borrowed the front wheel because it has a hub generator and I wanted to test some things. Why doesn't this fit? Ah, there it is. And of course this bolt is way too long. A washer. And now a nylock nut. Damn gravity. Alright, let's try this again. Come on. So difficult to do such things on camera. Alright. And now I need to cut off this long bolt. So with the light fixed, it is time to look at this terrible kickstand. There's a bit of a groove in this pin here, and sometimes this catches, and then you cannot really kick this kickstand. So it's time to replace this thing. It is something I said at the beginning of the previous video. Removing a kickstand on a bicycle that is placed upside down can be rather awkward. But this is a great tool to have. Because of this profile, you can use this tool at an angle, and that is great because of the C-tube. You cannot insert the tool at a straight angle. Alright, now let's get another kickstand. I got a selection of old kickstands. I think most of these should work, but some of these might not be long enough. I prefer these solid aluminium ones, but in this case I'm going with this plastic one because it is longer. It's probably also lighter, and they might also be better for my clogs. installed. Now let's check if the kickstand is long enough. Now let's check this out. Whoa. Well, that's terrible. That's just terrible. Let's see if I have a longer kickstand. As you can see, I installed one of those full aluminium kickstand, and to my surprise, it's long enough. I wasn't expecting that, but I'll take it. I kinda needed a win. I never really liked the large handlebar on this bicycle. It is swept too far back and it gets too close to my knees. The bell is okay though. It doesn't get in the way when you put the bicycle upside down. But I'm going to try this one here. It's a completely different design. I might like it. It might suck. It actually also comes with a bell, but it's a one ping only bell. And these are not good for scaring away old people. Huh. I don't know. Not sure how this is going to work out. But you gotta try something, right? A one ping only bell. They suck. Installed. And next I need to take this bicycle out for a test ride. But that won't be in this video. Also, it is still dark. So like, subscribe, yada yada yada, and to be continued some other day.